South of Mexico City, hidden within a labyrinth of ancient canals, lies an island that doesn't feel real. It's a place where childhood innocence goes to die, where thousands of hollow eyes follow you from the trees. This is the island of the dolls, and its story begins not as a tourist trap, but as one man's descent into a chilling obsession. Welcome to the canals of Xochimilco. This vast network of waterways and man-made islands, called chinampas, dates back to the Aztec Empire. It's a place of vibrant culture, with colorful boats called traineras gliding through the water. But if you venture deep enough, away from the music and laughter, the atmosphere changes. The air grows heavy, the canals narrow, and the jungle presses in. And there, accessible only by boat, you'll find it. An island unlike any other. It wasn't always like this. Before the dolls, it was just another isolated patch of land. Until a man named Don Julián Santana Barrera decided to make it his home. Sometime in the mid-20th century, Don Julián left his wife and family behind. He chose a life of solitude, moving to a small, remote chinampa in the Xochimilco canals. He was a deeply religious man, but he was also becoming more and more of a recluse. For years, he lived in near total isolation, farming his vegetables, speaking to almost no one. He was alone, but according to him, not for long. His story, the one he told for the rest of his life, begins with a tragedy. Don Julián claimed that one day, he found the body of a young girl who had drowned in the canal right next to his island. The discovery shook him to his core. Shortly after, he said, another object floated by in that same spot, a single discarded doll. He believed it belonged to the girl. He fished it out of the water and, in an act of respect, hung it from a tree. But this act of kindness didn't bring him peace. Instead, he claimed the girl's restless spirit began to haunt him. He heard footsteps in his small hut at night when no one was there. He heard whispers carried on the wind, her voice calling out from the darkness. He felt an unseen presence watching him from the dense foliage. He was terrified. It's important to note that despite his claims, there are no official records, no police reports, no news articles from that time confirming that a young girl ever drowned in those canals. The story exists only because he told it. To appease what he believed was the tormented spirit of the drowned child, Don Julián took that first doll he found and hung it from a tree. For a short time, he said, the paranormal activity stopped. The whispers faded, the footsteps ceased. But the relief was temporary. The feeling of being watched returned, stronger than before. He became convinced that the spirit wasn't satisfied with just one doll. She needed more. And so, his obsession began. Don Julián started collecting dolls from wherever he could find them. He scoured the canals for dolls that had been thrown away, pulling them from the murky water. He dug through garbage dumps on the mainland. He even traded his fresh vegetables with locals in exchange for their children's old, unwanted dolls. Many were already broken, filthy, and damaged when he found them. It didn't matter. He took them all back to his island and hung them. From every tree, every fence post, every wall of his shack. One by one, the island began to change. Over the next 50 years, the island transformed into a grotesque gallery. What started with one doll became hundreds and then thousands. The relentless sun bleached their plastic skin. The rain and humidity caused them to rot, their synthetic hair matting with dirt and mold. Insects and spiders built nests inside their cracked skulls and empty eye sockets. Some dolls were missing limbs, others just a disembodied head hanging from the wire. Their eyes, once bright and lifelike, became clouded, grimy, or were gouged out entirely, leaving dark, empty holes. It was a waking nightmare, a landscape of decay that was deeply disturbing, even in the bright light of day. Word of the strange man and his island of dolls began to spread among the locals. The boat operators, the traineros, saw a business opportunity. They started offering trips to the island for curious and brave tourists. Visitors would glide up to the shore, and a chilling silence would fall over their boat. Many who set foot on the island reported strange phenomena. People felt sudden, inexplicable drops in temperature. They heard rustling in the trees when there was no wind. And almost everyone described the same unnerving sensation, the feeling of being watched. Some visitors swore they could hear the dolls whispering to each other when they turned their backs. Others claimed the dolls' eyes would move, following them as they walked around the island. Of course, none of this has ever been documented or proven with scientific evidence. It's all based on personal testimony and a growing legend. But the sheer volume of similar stories from different people over many years is hard to ignore. As Don Julián grew older, his conviction never wavered. His connection to the dolls and to the spirit he believed they served only deepened. He would speak openly to visitors about his communication with the drowned girl. He insisted she was still there and that she constantly demanded more dolls to keep her company. His family, who would visit him occasionally, grew concerned. They saw his behavior as increasingly erratic, his obsession consuming him completely. They pleaded with him to leave the island and come home, but he always refused. He was bound to that place, a caretaker not just of the land, but of the thousands of silent plastic effigies he had hung there. Then, in 2001, the story took its final tragic turn. Don Julián's nephew had come to the island to help him with his fishing. They spent the day together, and Don Julián reportedly spoke about the spirit, even mentioning that the water was calling to him. Later that day, his nephew found him. Don Julián had drowned. He was found in the exact same spot in the canal where, 50 years earlier, he claimed to have found the body of the little girl. The official cause of death was drowning, with no evidence of foul play. But for those who believed his story, it was too perfect an ending. It felt like a dark pattern had finally been completed, a debt finally paid. After his death, Don Julián's family decided to preserve the island just as he had left it. The dolls remain, continuing to decay in the sun and rain. In fact, tourism has boomed. The story has been covered by media from all over the world, cementing its status as one of the world's most haunted places. Naturally, there are two ways to look at this. Skeptics offer a logical explanation. Don Julián was a man living in extreme psychological isolation. Perhaps a sense of guilt over something in his past, combined with his deep religious beliefs, led him to create this entire narrative. The story of the drowned girl might have been a delusion, a way for his mind to cope with loneliness. He created a legend and then lived inside it. But believers point to the eerie coincidences. The sheer number of visitors who report the same unsettling experiences, the whispers, the feeling of being watched, and of course, the chilling symmetry of his death. How did he die in the very same spot he identified decades before? Why do so many people with no connection to each other feel a sense of dread on that island? And that is the core mystery of the Island of the Dolls. Was there ever a drowned child, her spirit forever tied to that stretch of water? Did decades of isolation and loneliness fuel a powerful, self-sustaining haunting in one man's mind? Or did something genuinely unexplainable drive Don Julián to surround himself with an army of decaying dolls? The island offers no easy answers. It only offers faces in the trees, a man alone, a spirit he believed he could not escape, and thousands of dolls hanging in silent witness. Today, the colorful boats still glide through the canals of Xochimilco. And if you take the long journey to that one particular island, you'll find that somewhere among the rotting plastic and tangled branches, the eyes are still watching. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more true horror stories. See you next time